Hey there, welcome back to Total Geek Live, Baltimore Presents. I'm Baltimore, and today I'm bringing you the X-Men series, God Loves, Man Kills. That's this issue right here. This is Marvel graphic novel number 5. It's super fascinating. This is actually one of my first actual comics that I believe that I bought, graphic novels that I bought from the mall. Actually, somehow I found out that I have 2 copies of this, which I'm not mad. But, it's actually really kind of fascinating. One's a little bit more worn than the other one, so I imagine I got this one a little bit later. But this is an amazing story. It's the Marvel graphic novels in the 80s, the early 80s, were basically a way for the creators to tell an oversized story in a larger format. And it's really fascinating and quite cool that we got to see a lot of these come out. And this one is particularly amazing because it was Chris Claremont kind of at his peak in 1982, and he's teamed up with Brent Eric Anderson, and they've created an entire story that's really, really prescient. It's kind of timeless, and it took on a greater, meaning and detail. The further out from publication it gets, becomes more prolific and timely and important. So this graphic novel was actually what a lot of X2 was based off of. William Stryker in the movie was based off of Reverend William Stryker in this graphic novel. And he has decided, because his wife gave birth to a deformed mutant he was, completely disgusted with, and they are dead now. And he wants to wipe out the entire mutant kind from existence. And he creates a group called the Purifiers to, be his arm of that. So it's really kind of brutal. There are a lot of things that I'm not quite sure we could get away with if we were telling the story now. Particularly, I'm talking about Kitty Pryde's speech to Reverend Stryker. But I think, there's, some real great moments within this story. And for a long time, this wasn't part of X-Men canon. It wasn't really thought of as actual, connected to the Marvel Universe. But when the movie started to come out, they decided that, yes, this does take place in the Marvel Universe in between X-Men 167 and 168 is when this story is supposed to be told. And then we had Claremont, who was on Extreme X-Men at the time, come back to revisit this story with a sequel called God Loves, Man Kills 2. Will receive Stryker return to the pages with kind of a similar story, but updated and given a little bit more context about kind of how it connects to the X2 and, current, as it was, contemporary comics being published then. I didn't really enjoy the sequel to it. I didn't think it was obviously it's not as strong as the original, graphic novel that we have. But it was really kind of fascinating to see them accept it into the canon and kind of make it real. Because it's kind of brutal. This graphic novel starts out with 2 children being killed by Purifiers because they were mutants. And Magneto discovering this and deciding he's going to track down whoever did this because you do not mess with mutants. And Magneto, for sure, is not going to allow that to happen. So we have the X-Men coming into this, and, at this time, it's Cyclops, it's Storm, it's Colossus, Nightcrawler, Wolverine, and Kitty Pryde, Shadowcat. And we also have a time-displaced Illyana in this. So we knew that the New Mutants are existing already at this time, and we have, the main X-team operating. And we have Xavier go on television to have a debate with Reverend Stryker about mutants versus mankind and, where humanity is going, how they can coexist, if at all. And of course, Professor Xavier's dream is to have peaceful coexistence. And at this point, he's not outed to the world as a mutant, so not many people know that he is. However, William Stryker does, and he arranges for Xavier to be kidnapped, and he's part of his plan to decimate and destroy mutant kind by using Xavier's powers with a device that will kill all mutants by, a serious brain hemorrhage. And so his ploy is to get this to happen at a rally that he's doing, and the X-Men confront him there. And, you have this iconic panel where you have Stryker pointing with a finger at Nightcrawler and says, "This man a demon?" That iconic scene, panel that, just is chilling. And you have Kitty Pryde coming at this because she is of Jewish heritage, and bringing that to the front, bringing that question in, who decides who is worthy of life, and that question of aren't we all mutants? Aren't we all humans? Do we have any shared humanity, or is it just us versus them? And it's a really compelling. The stories, the questions that are generated here, the ideas that are put forward are very strong, and they warrant being revisited now, and they warrant being told again. And we're actually lucky. They're bringing this, I think it's the 40th anniversary of the telling of this story. They're bringing it to back again. Chris Claremont is writing a sort of companion piece to it, I suppose, where he kind of tells a different part of the story as the framing device, which I think is really fascinating. I'm going to be really intrigued to get that when it comes out. But this is a really fascinating story. It's really important. God loves, man kills. You have this idea of what religion and how it's used or misused to create points, to create laws and legislation and morality and specific viewpoints that get spread around and get implemented into daily lives. And we kind of have a moment where we can figure out within us, is that right? Is that what God would do? Or are we making God in our image and making it, perversing it, so to speak, and using it to enforce and bring out our ideas and wants instead of what is good and neutral and positive for everybody? So it's really, really fascinating to kind of get this story. I think if you ever get a chance to get this, you certainly should. You should find it. And it's, it's oversized. It's really beautiful. I think Brent Eric did a fantastic job on this. It is a little dated. It is very 80s, very 80s in its style. It's not a bad thing, but it is very much of its time. And this is Claremont doing, classic Claremont, which I appreciate and love. But it is really, really quite beautiful. And now that it has been kind of brought into, Marvel Comics, it's really cool to have this and to have another copy of it too. But here it is. This is that one I'm talking about. Kids lined up, they put into the swing set marked as mutie. So it's really, really dark, but I kind of think that's when the X-Men shine the most, when it's the darkest, the kind of up against the wall, it's them or extinction, and I think that's when the stories kind of excel for them. But you know what? I want to hear from you. I want to see what you think about God Loves, Man Kills. Have you read it yet? If you have, tell me your favorite panels or what your favorite moments are from this. Let me know. Like, subscribe, and share. And as always, it's all geek to us.